Hello and welcome back. This is Module 3. In Module 3, we're going to discuss the model phase. But as we agreed, every time in every module, I will go through the whole process from the start. Okay, much faster, but from the start. So here is Module 3 case. This is Module 3 case, same date, file number, and my name. I will click on Add Case. And in this Add Case, I will do the same case. It's the same upper 7. Sorry. So it is a crown, full contour, upper 7. Material is lithium disilicate. Final shade is Vita Classic A2. And I will end it here. I will not put the stump shade. And then you have all the case details here. Please take a second to check. In the acquisition, this time I will scan only a quadrant. In Module 2, we discussed scanning the full arch in some details. Here, I will scan only a quadrant, so I start occlusal, palatal, and then incisal, occlusal, and then labial. And again, I always do these 3 lines. First, I do these 3 lines, and then you can always go back, scan the crown, the prepared tooth from all different angles, scan the proximal contacts of the adjacent teeth. We are not working on the onlay in this case, but in another case, we can show the multiple, more than one tooth here. We can do the crown and the onlay. So now we're working only on the crown. This is the upper. This is the lower. So for the lower, this is the left side. So I will go again lower, occlusal, lingual, take the full lingual until the central, incisal, occlusal, and then labial. And trust me, if you practice this way of scanning every time, it should not take more than 30 seconds. Of course, the difficult part is the retraction, saliva, dryness, all this needs to be done. I totally understand, but try to get used to the same sequence. And then the buccal, we will go and, as discussed, scan the premolar, first molar area. This is more than enough. Okay. We can always double check on our upper, scan, check that it looks good. Do not judge the accuracy in this phase. This is not a 3D model. These are data points. These are pixel dots next to each other. This is not the 3D model. Once you go to model, and this is what we will do now, once we go to model phase is when this is converted into a 3D model. But do not, I do not judge how crisp the margin is or how clear an area is. What I'm looking for are gaps that I need to fill. Otherwise, when you go to the model, now it's creating the model, setting the model axis, drawing the preparation margin. We will discuss all this in details. Probably the model phase will be more than one module. Okay. So where did it bring me in the model phase? So like the administration phase, we had select material, select shade on the bottom. Acquisition, we had upper, lower, and bite on the bottom. In the model phase, you have these tabs that needs to be done. And you can see that everything is done. Actually, if you want to send the case to the lab now or export the case again from this DS logo export, you can do this right now. If you want to be finished, you are finished, okay? But where did the software bring me? The software brought me, in this case, on buccal bite registration. open the model to show me the model contacts. So you can see it very, very clearly. Okay. I can see one worrying point. We will discuss the colors and all this later, but I can see one worrying point that there is proximity here. This is showing me a bit of proximity in these areas. So I wonder if there is enough clearance done or not. I like to always open all these tabs because here you can always see what you want to do. So buccal bite registration, do not reset. You do not want to reset it. We will do a module for tips and tricks, how to manually adjust the buccal bite and so forth. Model base does not matter. Model contacts. So if I unclick the model contacts, you see the upper and the lower arches, and you see the gray area is the area where we took the bite. If I click on model contacts, it opens it and shows me the contacts. Okay, again, close and open. Okay, so this is good to see. Again, you can see that there might be a clearance issue here. And this is my point. This is the basic point that I want to do. When we prepare teeth or prepare a tooth, or me personally, when I prepare a tooth and I look at, I'll try to just hold the model from a place. I look at this clearance. I look at this clearance in the patient's mouth, or in the scan. And I'm not even sure. I'm not sure if I have enough clearance or did I do a great job, because this could be a great job done, or maybe I don't have enough clearance. And we all know that the discussion of the clearance is a very, let's say, uh, continuous discussion that we have with our lab technicians. Did I have enough clearance? No, you did not give me enough clearance, or why did the crown come with less anatomy, or why did the crown break, or why did the crown have high contacts? All this comes because of usually clearance issues, okay, if everything else is done properly, okay? So I'm not sure. In this case, this is what we see in the patient's mouth. I could dismiss this patient thinking that I do have enough clearance, okay? 1 millimeter, I'm quite sure that I could have more, 1 millimeter or more of clearance here, okay? We'll come back to this. So this is only the step of the buccal bite registration, where again, you can open the model contacts in the analyzing tools. So you have tools, display objects, and analyzing tools. In the analyzing tools, you have the model contacts. And again, when I open it, this makes me doubt, because this means not in contact, but close to contact. The blue, let's discuss the colors a little bit. So this blue is close to contact. Let me expand more. So this blue is close to contact. This second blue is closer to contact, but not in contact. Third blue is closer and closer to contact, but not in contact. Then the green is the beginning of the contact, 1 to 50 microns. Yellow is more contact, 50 to 100. Red is more than 100. Okay? So seeing this very faint blue means that it is close to contact, not as much as any of these blues, but it's giving me a sign here, okay? Now, and also on the opposing tooth here. Now, if we go to the next phase, set model access, this usually the software will do it for you, so you don't need to worry about it. But yeah, I would say for now, let's not worry about it. Trim area, when would I trim, or what is trimming first? Trimming is making a die trimming. So I can cut on both sides of the crown, to be able to draw the margin properly. Again, we will come back to this, but just to let you see it, we start always with a double click. So this line we are drawing, or this saw we are working with, we start with a double click and then single click to save and change direction, for example, and then when you're done, you double click and you will see that you removed the tooth. You're hiding the tooth. You're not deleting anything in this face. You're only hiding. So on the other side, I will double click, again, single click. Try not to touch any of the teeth. So try to go in between the teeth and then double click. And then when you go to draw margin, then you can look at the margin from the side and you can see, for example, here that the margin needs to move a little bit up, okay, in this area, and that it is drawn well in this area, and you can rotate this is a tough margin over here. It's a very thin knife edge, let's say, type of margin, but you can see where the margin is. Once you move the model, the light helps you tracking or tracing these margins here and everywhere. So you need to keep on moving and you see where the margin is. But it's not an easy case, but we will come to that. Okay. The point now here is, do you want to draw the margin? Because in my opinion, if you draw the margin, the first thing the lab technician will do when you send this case is delete this margin, because the lab takes responsibility on this margin, right? And if you export this case as an STL, but I don't want to go into this in details now, but just keep in mind that if this is exported as STL file, whatever margin you draw will not be transferred to the lab. STL does not transfer margins. Okay, so this is the second point. But in my opinion, again, and if we go back to the acquisition and I unlock and I cut just any part of the model in order to recalculate everything. I want to recalculate. I want to start the model phase from the beginning, because every time you cut, you go back to the model, you go back to the very beginning of the model phase. So it is creating the models as if we just finished scanning. It is creating the model. It is setting the model axis. This is why I'm telling you, do not worry about it. Drawing the preparation margin. It is talking to you. The software is talking to you. Okay. Again, one of two things. And this is what I actually do in cases. When I reach this point, I have one of two choices. Either I believe that I have good clearance and good margins and a good prep, and I will export it as STL, or go to the next phase, which is connect to send to a Dentsply Sirona lab through the cloud. Okay, so you're done. If you feel that you're done, you are done. Great. If you want to check the clearance and to make sure that your work is absolutely excellent, then you need to make sure, regardless of how good the margin is drawn, it does not matter. It does not matter if the margin is drawn good. Here, for example, the software drew it, but did not do a great job over here. But I don't care. I will not draw the margins, as we discussed, for two reasons. STL will not export it, and if it goes through Connect, the lab technician will delete it, and it's absolutely their right, unless you tell them it's a deep margin, I drew the margin, do not delete my margin, work on this margin, but you take responsibility of it. Okay? If there's anything related to the margins in the end product, in the crown. It's your responsibility, not the lab technician. Okay? So if the margin, why does the software try to draw the margin? In other words, in my opinion, the software tries to draw the margin because it wants you to go next. Because if the margin is not drawn, if you see in tools, I delete the margin. If the margin is not drawn, okay, you cannot open the preparation analysis part. Okay, so I want to draw the margin quickly. How do I do that? I start here with a double click, 12 o'clock, let's say, and then I go to 3 o'clock and I do a single click. I go to 6 o'clock and I do a single click. I go to 9 o'clock and I do a single click. And I go to 12 o'clock and I do a double click. Again, we start with a double click. We end with a double click. Again, it's not a perfect margin. I do agree. I did not trim this time, so I cannot look from the side. The tooth is in my way. But this is not my point. My point is drawing the margin quickly or using the margin that the software drew to you will enable you to go to the preparation analysis. And in the preparation analysis, you can measure. You see, any place I stop at will measure. Here it's 2 millimeter, 1.95 millimeter. Here it's 0.76 clearance. Here is 0.74 and maybe even less, 0.71 I saw. So this is, yeah, here, 0.71 of a millimeter. This is the clearance. And this is very dangerous and very important. If you want the lab to do lithium disilicate, for example, in this case, maybe 0.7 is not enough of a clearance from anatomy, from over milling that happens during milling, from many reasons, but you need something to show you. Okay, so here it is set at 1.04. I can always go here, configuration, parameters, set the preparation analysis on how much you want. Okay, so let's say here I set at 1 millimeter, for example, with 1000 microns. Okay, and if you want to use tolerance, maybe we'll discuss it later on, but tolerance means that it will give you, 950, so 9.5 or 0.95 and 950 microns and 1050 microns to give you more of a range that you're okay. That some areas are less, some areas are green, and some areas are within your tolerance. I prefer to keep it now at 0. Keep the ideal distance at 1000 microns, which is 1 millimeter. For example, you can make it 1.5, 1.2 would even be better, for example. So you can see that at 1 millimeter, they always look at where it is marking or differentiating green from red. You have these areas that are less. You need to measure it. You need to check the model contacts, decide what you're going to do, because this patient has a good bite. Sometimes you see even more red, has a deeper bite or a bruxer. And one of the things you can do, or one of the things that I can do, is you have one of 3 choices, basically, is do nothing and let the lab handle. Maybe the lab will call me and tell me to do some corrections, maybe not. Take the risk, basically. The other possibility is that I go to administration, I click on edit restoration and select the material, change it to zirconium oxide. Okay. Click on OK, and then go back to the model. It will not change the colors because the colors are still set at 1 millimeter, but we know that 0.7, 0.8, 0.7, 0.8 is okay for zirconia. So usually Zirconia minimum thickness recommended is 0.6, 0.7, the minimum thickness. So I know that this can work, or that in the administration, again, edit restoration, keep the material as lithium disilicate, but then I need to modify these areas. So I will actually, now I have this model, I actually prepared it. So I fixed these areas that I needed to, that do not have enough clearance. I keep this on the screen. I go to my tooth. I modify, remove 0.3, 0.4 from here. You know exactly also how much you need to remove and where you need to remove from. Then I go back to the acquisition, unlock, go to the upper jaw, cut, and it's up to you if you want to cut the full tooth or part of the tooth. I will cut the full tooth, so double click, single click, single click, single click, single click, single click, double click, apply. I prepared the tooth. I have a second model with this tooth prepared. I start scanning after I did my modifications. Okay, start from somewhere that it recognizes, and then I scan the tooth after adjusting the preparation. They scan it very well. And I go to model. Creating the model now. Setting the model access. And this, in my opinion, is why the software draws the preparation margin. It wants to save your time. If the margin, again, even if it brings me here, if the margin is drawn, even if not accurately, even if it's not very accurate, the software is trying to help you and telling you, check the clearance, go to the preparation analysis and check the clearance. If the margin is not drawn, preparation analysis is not possible. All I need to do is to draw it quickly, double click at 12 o'clock, single click at 3 o'clock, single click at 6 o'clock, single click at 9 o'clock, and double click again at 12 o'clock. Go to preparation analysis, and you see that now the same area is green, and you can see the measurement, how much is the clearance. Here now it's 1.7, 1.5, 1.4. So this is now perfect to send to the lab. And again, I know that there were lots of details in this module. We've exceeded the normal time, around 40, 45 minutes now. So I will stop here. And in module 4, we will probably come with a quick revision from start until this point, just to make sure that everything is done in real time, so without a lot of explanation, but hopefully from this module, you will understand exactly what I am doing. I thank you and see you in module 4.